You know it wasn't good or safe for you, and you've left or you're in the process of leaving. You don't regret your decision, but sometimes there are moments that are so painful. What is that about? In a word, in a real simplified fashion, it would be grief. And of course, it's more nuanced than that. So what exactly are we grieving? Well, we have there's so much to grieve in a loss when you're leaving a relationship that has been destructive to you or destructive for you. And then someone who promised to love, honor, and cherish you and stay with you all the days of your life was in sickness and in health and all the things has been destructive in your life. There's so much to grieve. The relationship that you thought you had or thought that you were gaining when you married into it or agreed to get married, all of the lies, all of the things that you did and invested yourself into that weren't even reality, all of that needs to be grieved. Maybe we've lost community and traditions. Maybe we've lost a sense of our identity as a part of who we were or what we were doing and how things were going and how we thought they were going to go, and maybe even promises that had been made that you're now realizing didn't mean anything. We're grieving all of the lies that we believed. How could we believe all those lies? How did we let them get away with it? And all of those things need to be grieved, and so much more. There are a lot of things that we may have in common that we need to grieve, and then there are a lot of things that are individual to our situation. I mean, that doesn't mean nobody else experiences them and you're not the only one, but they're all legitimate. All the losses are legitimate, and they all need to be named and grieved. So this whole thing, the other dynamic that plays into this is the fact that this is like a living loss. This person, this situation that you're grieving, that person is still living. It's not like we're widowed and we got to have a funeral or rituals or people brought us meals and gave us hugs and took care of us. A lot of times it was exactly the opposite. There was no acknowledgement of the things and the harm to you. There was no funeral. There were no meals. There wasn't anybody coming by to check and see how you were doing or how you are doing. So there is such a huge amount of loss, and that dynamic just it throws us off, I think, as far as what we think to expect, even though in our culture we don't necessarily have the greatest view on grief. But here's some things that helped me that I want to share with you, a couple of diagrams that I heard somebody explain. And the first one is how we tend to think about grief. We tend to think that it just is linear. It shouldn't take more than this amount of time. But none of that's true. We think that like here we have the 3 boxes, and the boxes would indicate our life, and the balls in the boxes would be our grief, and the button would be, every time the ball hits the button, that's the pain that we experience, and that it's just sort of like this. Initially, it's like this ongoing pain happening. And then over time, the ball gets smaller, so it doesn't hit the button as often. And then maybe eventually the ball even pops, and so it can't hit the button anymore. And then we are all better. Except it doesn't work that way. The way that it actually works is more like the second diagram. And that is, you see the same ball in the first box, and it's bumping the button constantly, practically. And we're just trying whatever we can to catch our breath and keep our head above water, so to speak. And then the box gets, as we work through our grieving process, the box gets bigger, our life expands, the ball seems smaller, and it's not hitting the button as often. And then as we continue on, our life expands more. The ball doesn't hit the button, hits the button even less often, but it still hits the button. That's closer to normal grief and how it works. What this diagram is not telling us is that we need to not take time to grieve our loss or acknowledge it or anything, and we just need to go out and do things and make our life bigger. That's what this is not saying. But what it is saying is that as we move through time and we do the work of stopping and letting ourselves feel that pain when that ball hits the button, and getting curious about what is it in this situation that is bringing so much grief on me? What am I grieving? And we name that particular loss out loud, and we let ourselves grieve or wail or lament or sob or even be angry. And as we do that and we let those emotions work themselves out, that then we have the capacity to expand our lives by, getting back out and doing things with friends, going out for a walk. And those things kind of happen together. They're not mutually exclusive, but it's an overtime thing where we're working with the process. And I just want to encourage you to remember that feeling pain isn't wrong. It doesn't mean that you've regressed or that you've lost some of your healing work that you have done so far. It doesn't mean that you made a bad choice in leaving or that you should go back. It indicates that something real happened, and that while there's a lot of lies and a lot of facades, fakeness, that you are recognizing that you still invested yourself in something that you thought was real, and now you've discovered the curtain is pulled back, and the Wizard of Oz isn't the Wizard of Oz. There is no truth behind there. Just that alone is a huge loss to grieve, and we need to give ourselves some time to do that. So I would love to hear how this has impacted you, if it's helped you sort of sort out where that pain comes from, and maybe helped you see kind of how you can move forward with some of that. I would say getting curious with God and letting myself feel the feelings and grieve helped me tremendously in moving forward from all of the loss and all of the grief. And I'm 5 years out from my divorce, and 9 years out from no, I'm more than that. I'm 10 years out from being in-house separated. And so, and I still have times where something hits me and I'm like, ooh, that was really painful. And I have to stop and get curious about where that pain is coming from, and what is it showing me that I'm believing? Is there a lie in there? Is there a truth I need to replace that lie with? What do I need to shift? And what do I need to let myself grieve or feel anger about, or whatever? What feelings do I need to process through? So be gentle with yourself. And thank you for joining me. I'm so glad that you are here. I am Stephanie, and I help women who love Jesus find healing and freedom after the trauma of abuse or betrayal. And I hope to see you in the next video.